from St. Paul in the Butler Center tonight. The Wildcats host their St. Paul rival, St. Thomas, and the Tommies. Matt Nelson with you on a chilly St. Paul Wednesday night alongside of, it's downright cold outside, that is, from the Butler Center alongside of my engineer, none other than the hardworking Glenn Thompson. So happy to be spending a part of our week with you tonight as the Wildcats host St. Thomas. This will be the second time these two teams have met. The Tommies, no surprise, off to a great start to the season, 12-1 overall, 6-0 in the MIAC. The Wildcats 6-7 through their first 13 games and 3-3 in the MIAC. These two teams played back on December 1st. It was an 82-66 win for St. Thomas in their gym. They were paced by Hannah Spalding, who had 28 points and 13 rebounds. Lucia Renikoff had 18 points in that win as well.
Is on the air. As always, we step into the coach's office with head coach Don Mulhern. Coach, before we talk about this rematch tonight with the Tommies, you guys played them earlier this season. Let's talk about your last time out, that game at Bethel over there in Arden Hills. I was watching closely, following along. It was close in the fourth quarter. In the end, they pulled away a bit, probably just a case of not quite generating enough offense in the second half. What was your perspective from the coach's chair?
Well, we played very hard. You have these close games, and down the stretch, there's usually 2 or 3 key plays. It's a loose ball here. It's a, defensive deflection there, those sorts of things. And I thought we did a lot of really good stuff. Bethel's really good, and Bethel down the stretch had experience, and their experience kind of showed. But I think it was a good game in terms of a lot of things we did. The outcome is not what we want, and we've got to work toward being better late down the stretch.
Some nice adjustments, from your team. It looked like they played great defense in the third quarter, especially on the road.
Yeah, we did. We played very good defense. We talked at halftime about some things, and we adjusted that well. At the same time, they made some adjustments, too, so that offensively we struggled some. And, that's kind of what this game is. It's about who can adjust and who can adjust to the other team's adjustments. That's really what it comes down to. And a lot of times those adjustments occur on the fly because you don't have unlimited timeouts. So therefore, the experience of players having been there, done that, see that, it's kind of like that quarterback in football who Tom Brady has seen every defense that there is. So when it happens, he can on the fly. But until you have the experience, you're not always able to do that. And that's something we're just working on to get better with that.
You've got St. Thomas tonight. The schedule obviously doesn't get any easier. They haven't lost in conference play through their first 6 games. What were the takeaways from the first time you guys played against the Tommies in their gym?
Well, I think one thing we did really well there, and we certainly, the score was not what we want, but we did not play scared, which is a big deal because they're darn good. You can play a little bit intimidated. On the other hand, what we didn't do well is they shoot the ball so well. It's just really amazing. And we let them become comfortable. You've got to close out on their shooters. You've got to make them put the ball on the floor and hopefully develop some discomfort in their end. If they're rhythm shooters, they space the court so well. They go inside of Spalding and then kick it. And it's a dilemma. You try to double and she kicks it, but we've got to be able to double her, make her kick it, and still close out, make them put the ball on the floor. And you cannot let them just stand there and be kind of spot-up shooters. So that's a big thing that's way easier said than done.
It's one of those, it's a bit of a pick your poison. Like you said, they can do it inside, they can do it outside. But I like what you said about discomfort. That really becomes key, forcing them to be uncomfortable and hoping that they make some mental mistakes and some errors offensively.
Well, you try to have teams do something different than what they've done in practice the whole week. So you try to find tendencies and then take away those tendencies so they have to make a different move, a different attack, and all that sort of stuff. And that's easier said than done because you can talk about it, you can show game film and practice it, but in the games going very live and players have to quickly react. But, our goal is that for each of their different players to make them do some things that they're maybe not quite as good at. Well, let me be clear, they're still really good at it. And hopefully then we can, play some good defense, and offensively we've got to make our open shots and we've got to be able to attack and, again, go downhill and not play scared.
Should be a big game then tonight. A lot of, not pressure, but I'm sure there's a great focus on Jackie and Sam down in the post knowing what Spalding does for the Tommies.
Well, there is, and the double's going to come from different areas when we double. But Spalding is so good. She's very methodical. Methodical is a compliment. She catches it, she checks, she looks, puts the ball on the floor, kind of gets her space, and she's really good at picking it up and making a cross-court skip pass that's online. And those girls really, for St. Thomas, they stay so far apart that you cannot one girl guard two because they're spaced so well. So again, it's trying to figure out their tendencies, trying to make sure that there's a couple girls we don't let get more shots than others. And we've got to flat out, pick them up in the full court and make it where they just don't have 30 seconds to run an offense.
Get you out of here on this one. Your young players, we talk a lot about the veteran players because they're the ones that primarily fill up the box score at the end of the day. But your young players, we're hitting they always say August in baseball is the dog days. We're kind of hitting the dog days of the conference season right now coming off of the holidays. How pleased are you with the progress your younger players are making? This is the time of the year where they really start to separate themselves, and you know who you can go to late in games and maybe who you can't.
Well, they're all making progress. We coaches are kind of unique beings. You've got to be patient. You've got to be pushy. And they're making progress. Is it as fast as what we want? No, but, there's a realistic progress. So the fact is they are. And, a big thing for us is we've got to be able to knock down open shots. That's something we've been working so hard on. But, when you get a shot, you got to make it. And I know that seems really simplistic, but it becomes a skill. And, the good teams, they've worked on it in the offseason. We've got to be better at when we have good shots, making them and taking advantage of that. So I think our young players are doing a lot of good stuff. I think the next step is hitting those open shots and the opportunities there.
Great perspective. Great to talk as always, Coach, and best of luck tonight with the Tommies.
All right, thank you.
There he goes. That is head coach Don Mulhern joining us on our Wildcat pregame show with a great preview of tonight's matchup, the second this season between St. Kate's and St. Thomas. Just a short drive, probably less than 5 minutes for the Tommies tonight as they go on the road. They're 12-1 on the season, 6-0 so far in the MIAC in first place. The Wildcats at 500 in the conference season, 3-3, and they are 6-7 through their first 13 games. Let's send it downstairs to court level and honor America with the Star-Spangled Banner before we come back upstairs for starting lineups in the tip. Before that, they're going to honor Audra Clark for the program all-time record holder in assists.
For career assists. On December 29th against University of Minnesota Morris, Clark surpassed Aaron Petridge, who had held the record since 2007 at 302 season assists. This season, Clark averages 3.8 assists per game, and currently leads the team with 46 for a career total of 349 career assists, while also leading the team in points with 186. Head coach Don Mulhern and the rest of the Wildcat basketball program would like to present Audra with a special gift to recognize this outstanding accomplishment. Ladies and gentlemen, Senior Audra Clark.
Oh, very nice picture with the family. And her teammates celebrate now. Audra Clark, the all-time career leader in assists, and a just unbelievable career that she's had here in St. Paul, playing for St. Kate's for Sean Pinkerton and now Don Mulhern. All right, now the teams will line up. We'll have then a tip from St. Paul.
Oh, say, can you see? For the ramparts we walk.
So a nice pregame ceremony for Audra Clark, the senior out of Kenyon, Minnesota, for now taking over as the career assists leader at St. Catherine University. And again, congratulations to Audra. We've seen her for all 4 years here from our perch above the Butler Center floor. And to say the least, she has just had a remarkable career and truly is one of the all-time great players in St. Kate's history. Introducing the starting lineups downstairs, Lucia Renikoff alongside of Taylor Johnson for the Wildcats. Jackie Radford introduced for the Wildcats, definitely this team's leader, as she'll give a handshake to Kaylee Brazil, the 5'4" senior guard out of Norwood Young America, Minnesota. Just introduced was Sarah Krinsky, junior out of Lakeville. And for the Wildcats, high fives all around for Sam Orth. There goes Kaya Porter, 5'11" sophomore guard out of Roseville, Minnesota, just under 14 points per game. And wearing the home whites, number 30, Lauren Isaacson, starting tonight for St. Kate's. Hannah Spalding, great player, 16 points per game, 9 rebounds per contest, a senior out of Annandale, introduced. And there goes Audra Clark, the all-time leading assister in Wildcat history. The Tommies, their last time out was a 67-46 win against Hamlin at home. Porter had 15 points. Spalding had 11 to go along with 16 rebounds. She was all over the glass. And Renikoff had 14 points for the Wildcats. Their last time out, it was a close game in the fourth quarter, but Bethel and the Royals pulled away at the last few moments of that game, the last 3 minutes or so, to win 64-55. Sam Orth led the Wildcats with 12 points and 8 boards. The Wildcats shot 36%. Wildcats take to the floor. Tommy's behind them. Tommy's wearing the road purple jerseys and tops, trimmed in white. Trimmed in gray also on the shorts. Wildcats home whites with purple numerals and purple and gold trim. Spalding and Orth ready to tip it, and we'll be underway in St. Paul. There we go. Wildcats trying to chase down the loose ball, but it's won by Porter and the Tommies. First possession to the visiting Tommies as we welcome you in to St. Paul. Krinsky comes back up top with it. There was Brazil. Now Krinsky. Brazil thought about a three, swings it around to the right side. Porter, a couple dribbles. She was left open, gives it a right-handed heave to the Wildcat bench. The Tommies turn it over on their first possession. As again, we welcome you into St. Paul. Tonight's broadcast is interactive. Whether you're rooting for the Tommies or the Wildcats tonight, you can drop us an email, wildcatsbooth@gmail.com. wildcatsbooth@gmail.com. And we'll get you a shout-out on air. Let us know who you're rooting for tonight and where you're listening and watching from on your tablets, smartphones, laptops, whatever device you're watching from tonight. There goes Orth, baseline, driving and scoring. She got by Spalding and scored. The freshman out of Rogers, just over 11 points per game. She had 12 last time out against Bethel, 6.5 boards to go along with it. Renikoff drives, kicks for Spalding, three-point shot on the way, and it's good for Sarah Krinsky. The junior guard puts the Tommies on top 3-2. First bucket for the Tommies belongs to Krinsky. Tommies by one, Wildcats with the basketball. Welcome you to Wildcat basketball from St. Paul in 2019. Radford spins, drives. There's Orth once more. Baseline, this time she had her shot blocked. Renikoff came in to help and blocked the shot of Orth. Now in transition, Krinsky kicks outside. Three-pointer knocked down. It's Brazil. A pair of three-pointers early for the Tommies. Has them up by 4. 6-2 as Clark drives. Had her shot blocked by Renikoff. Her second block of the evening. In 3 Wildcat possessions. Clark retreating to play defense. The Tommies coming off back-to-back three-pointers after they turned it over on their opening possession. Into the corner it goes. Renikoff, three-pointer, knocked it down. The Tommies have made their first 3 three-pointers. They lead 9-2. You heard Don Mulhern in our pregame show talking about what has made this Tommies team so good, and that's been the ability when Spalding creates space down low to knock down open shots, and they've done that 3 times already. Loose ball, Radford comes up with it and knocks it down. Good shooting start for both teams. Jackie averaging 8 points per game to go along with 7 boards. Radford has started now all 14 games this season for the Wildcats. Nice pass down low as Porter finds Spalding. First 2 points of the night for Spalding as the scoring is coming fast and furious in St. Paul. We're 2.5 minutes in, already 15 points on the scoreboard. 11 of them for St. Thomas, 4 for St. Kate's. Orth, scoop layup, rattled in and out, rebound Spalding. She had 16 last time out against the Hamlin Pipers. Brenikoff will set up the offense. Not the start that the Wildcats envisioned, with 3 long balls going in for the Tommies. They've made all 3 three-pointers that they've tried. Inside of 7 minutes left in the first quarter. Porter going to work offensively. Back up top. Brazil lines one up and knocks it down again. Tommies are on fire shooting the long ball. They've made their first 4, and they lead by 10. Clark, pump fake, drive, and got fouled. Renikoff going to be called for the first foul of the game. The senior out of Minneapolis fouls Clark, and it'll send the Wildcat veteran to the free throw line to shoot 2. Clark, the senior, and the program's leading assister. Got the game ball from that game against Morris before tonight's game, before the tip. First shot good for Clark. Shooting 69% from the season from the free throw line, just under 6 boards per game. Clark, starting her 13th game of the season, missed one earlier in the year. But luckily for Audra, it was just a 1-game absence. Makes both of her free throws, 14-6, the new score from St. Paul. Tommies with the rock. Rendifer had it. Now down low for Spalding, and it was picked off by Radford. He sends the pass into the front court. Orth chases it down, lays it up and in. Orth with 4 first quarter points and a turnover. Great defense. Johnson poked it away from Brazil, and it's Wildcat ball. Wildcats down by 6. They've done well just to weather this first quarter's 3-point shooting storm that the Tommies have put on. Orth quickly pulls the trigger from 10 feet out and knocks it down. Orth has 6 points. It's a 4-point game. Already 24 points in 4 minutes of game clock. 3-pointer on the way. First miss for the Tommies. High over the iron for Brendifer. Clark in transition. Directing traffic. Look down low for Orth. Nothing there, so instead Isaacson. Radford left side now. Great defense so far from Johnson. Now she has the ball offensively. Going to work. Strong drive off of the right side. Shot was blocked. Clark got it back under the basket. Went up with the left hand and scored 4 first quarter points for Clark. And it's just a 2-point game. Great shooting start for both teams. Endefer trying to find Spalding. She was well covered by Radford. Now Spalding comes to the top of the key. Back for Brazil. Now Spalding floats it down low. Found her mark, and the layup is good. It's Krogson, the freshman out of Hammond, Wisconsin. Her first 2 points off of the bench. 16-12 now. Radford down low. Nice pass. Johnson layup over the iron. Shot no good. Isaacson couldn't come up with a loose ball. It's Tommy Ball, and Ruth Sin will send in a couple of substitutions. Brenikoff and Porter back in. And we've got a timeout on the floor. It might be cold outside, but a hot shooting start in the gym at the Butler Center. It is a 16-12 St. Thomas lead. 4:42 left in the first quarter. Let's break with the players.
As a family-owned and operated business since 1971, Goodmanson Construction continues to develop concrete relationships with their commercial and residential customers throughout the upper Midwest. questions or concerns about concrete, asphalt, and the company's installation process, check out their website at goodmansonconstruction.com. Thank you, Goodmanson Construction.
Bring it back in, the Wildcats with a full court press on. The Tommies are able to handle it. They get the ball up ahead to Brazil. Great shooting start. The Tommies made their first 4 3-pointers. They've missed one since then, and now they've missed 2 in a row. That latest one out of the hands of Kaylee Brazil, the senior from out west there in Norwood, Young America. Clark drives and was fouled. Second foul of the ball game, second against the Tommies, and this one is the second for Renikoff. So 2 fouls for the senior Renikoff, and Clark to the free throw line for the second time tonight. She made her first 2, and she's made her first 3. It's now just a 1-bucket game. First look at Mackenzie Kerchek for the Wildcats. And the Tommies send in Maddie Radke for the first time, sophomore out of Lester Prairie, Minnesota. And Clark has done well in the first quarter from the free throw line. 4 of her 6 points coming from the free throw line. Again, as good of a start as St. Thomas got out to, remember they jumped out to a 14-4 lead. Since then the Wildcats have gone on, if my math is right, a 12-2 run. It's a 16-14 Tommy lead. Driving is Radke. She had it stripped away by Clark. Nice defense by Clark, looking for the foul, driving to the basket, shots off. Radford the offensive board, second chance for St. Kate's. They can tie it with a 2 or take the lead with a 3 here in the first quarter. Down low with it. Benjamin turns and shoots. That's short. Loose ball. Tommies come up with it. It's Porter. And she'll carry the ball into the front court. Into the corner. Rendifer lines one up. That's short. Rebound Spalding. Back up top. Wide open three-pointer Brazil. That's off. And the Tommies have cooled off from 3. Clark rebound. Long pass ahead. Radford in transition. Layup short. An uncontested rebound for Spalding. Credit St. Kate's, though. They really weathered a terrible, terrible worst-case scenario type start. Rendifer can't hit the short one. Spalding the rebound, and she was fouled by Benjamin. 2 shots coming up for the Tommies post star, Anna Spalding. More than 16 points per game for Spalding in this 2018-2019 season, and 9.5 boards per game as well. Good free throw shooter as well, 69%. She makes her first, already 3 points for Spalding. Ashley Fosness checks in for the first time, the sophomore out of Britain, South Dakota. And make sure you stay tuned at halftime. We're going to have a Wildcat player profile with Ashley Fosness that we'll carry for you. Great conversation we had. We'll have that on video as well, so you can stay tuned. Get to know the sophomore guard, Ashley Fosness. She'll be our halftime player profile. Something we've never done before, and Ashley is going to bat leadoff for us. Hope you'll enjoy that. Audra Clark, Wildcats down by 4. Radford over the head of Benjamin and a turnover. Both teams have been pretty good at taking care of the basketball. It was just the second turnover for St. Kate's as Radford couldn't connect with Benjamin. Donica Cambryce out tonight, so the Wildcats playing without her. 17 points per game or 6 boards. So some opportunities for the likes of Kerchek and Isaacson. Fosness, those players off the bench, the youngsters. As down low, it's Porter. Her first bucket tonight for Porter. Benjamin a little tardy closing out on it, and the Tommies have pushed their lead back to 6. 2014 the new score. Let's break with 2:34 left in the first quarter. You're listening to Wildcat Basketball.
Since all the way back in 1971, the Universal Athletic Team has been passionate about fueling the dreams of athletes, and they put all their know-how into doing just that. By servicing and selling athletic gear to local athletes, high schools, and colleges, Universal Athletic has dedicated its heart and soul to the support of sports, fitness, and health programs in schools and communities. transporting.
Pretty animated timeout down there. Don Mulhern was none pleased with the play of his team those last couple transitions up and down the floor, and he let him know. I thought he had a great quote in our pregame show. Patient but pushy. That's what he said his coaching style is, and there's probably moments in your work where you have to be patient but pushy. It can be a fine line to walk, but that's what he talked about with his young players especially. Benjamin draws the foul. Roland bumped her from behind. The freshman post player from Apple Valley called for her first foul. 2:18 to go. Third foul against St. Thomas in the first quarter. First against the youngster Roland. Clark for Fosness. And now Fosness draws the foul. Reaching in was Krinsky, the junior, called for her first. 4 fouls against the Tommies, just 1 against St. Kate's. Radford in, Benjamin to the bench. More veteran presence into the Wildcat 5. Clark and Radford alongside of Fosness, Kerchek, and Orth. Wildcats down by 6 with the basketball. Kerchek for Fosness, 13 on the shot clock for St. Kate's. Now Radford drives with the left hand. Defers to Orth, off of the window, no good. Loose ball, and a foul's going to be called. I think it's against Jackie. It is. Radford called for her first foul, trying to get her hands on that loose ball. Second foul against St. Kate's, and the first against Radford. Long cross-court pass. Strong drive. Orth blocked the shot at her, hands up. I think the Tommies wanted a foul. Krinsky was the one driving baseline, but no whistle. And we play on. 90 seconds left in the first quarter. Mentioned the Wildcats booth at gmail.com. So we had our first email into the booth. Dan Fosness writing in. Greetings from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And of course, rooting for the Wildcats as Orth scores off of the window. Great first quarter for Orth. She has 8 of the Wildcats' 16 points. So half of the Wildcats' points coming from the freshman Orth. A minute to go in the first period. And Dan's hoping to make a pilgrimage, the annual pilgrimage to St. Paul to check out the Wildcats in person this year. Look forward to seeing you out at the Butler Center. Down low, nice pass. Krinsky finds Roland. Roland called for the foul earlier in the first quarter. She has her first bucket as she lost her defender. 22-16 the new score. Fosness has the basketball. I imagine those fans watching in Sioux Falls, South Dakota will be interested to see that halftime show. It's the Ashley Fosness show at halftime. Wildcat player profile. Driving is Kerchek. That shot's short and a charge. Foul against Kerchek as standing in was Krinsky. She drew the foul. It's the first against Kerchek. And the Tommies can hold it for the last shot of the first period if they so choose. No shot clock and 20 seconds left on the game clock. Great to hear from the Wildcats fans chiming in. Against that email address is wildcatsbooth@gmail.com. Tommies have 8 seconds to work with. Krinsky, pump fake. Finds Hattlestead. She'll line up a three-pointer. That's no good. Rebound Fosness. A second to go. Half-court shot won't count. And in fact, it won't even come out of the hands of Fosness, who came up with that rebound. That's a wrap on the first 10 minutes. 22-16. And crisis averted for St. Kate's. The Tommies made their first 4 three-pointers. They led 14-4. The Wildcats were able to push back and take a 6-point game into the second quarter. I think any Wildcats fan would take that. We go to the second quarter. When we come back, you're listening to Wildcat Basketball.
Wildcat Athletes is in the capable hands of Northfield Lines Incorporated, dedicated to ensuring that your travel experience is a positive one. Call to request a quote or to make a reservation at 888-670-8068 or visit their website at northfieldlines.com. Twin Cities Orthopedics offers a full spectrum of orthopedic care to individuals suffering sports-related problems and injuries. Their doctors are team physicians for St. Catherine's University as well as Augsburg University, Hamlin University, and others around the state of Minnesota. Visit tcomn.com, and thank you to Twin Cities Orthopedics.
Welcome you back into the Butler Center. St. Thomas 22, St. Kate 16. Matt Nelson alongside of hardworking and trustworthy engineer Glenn Thompson. What? Hardworking engineer Glenn Thompson. That's you. The man who pushes buttons and twists knobs to make these broadcasts possible. The man and flips levers, does all of it. Loose ball. Clark had it poked away by Porter. Clark was able to get it back. That's one matchup that pre-knee surgery, that Audra Clark probably leaves her in the dust. Fosness charged. Offensive foul against the sophomore Fosness as Brenda Furr stood in there. The KG senior stood in there and drew the foul first against Fosness, and the Wildcats turn it over on their first possession of the second quarter. Pass down low, the dangerous Spalding got loose from Jackie Radford, and Spalding now with 5 first-half points. Spalding starting her 14th game this season, and as I mentioned, nearly averaging a double-double, 16 points and 9 boards. Fosness inside the arc again. There'll be great opportunities for Isaacsons and Fosnesses and Percheks with the absence of Cam Bryce. Ranikoff comes up with a steal. Back-to-back turnovers for St. Kate's. They look a tad discombobulated on offense early in the second quarter. Krinsky up top. Brenda Furr passed on the open three. Drives, kicks. Clark closes out. Spalding hits it into the corner. Brenda Furr's got all day in the corner. Took her time, looked down at her shoelaces, looked back up, and hit a wide-open three-pointer. It's an 11-point St. Thomas lead, their biggest lead of the evening. As good a defense as you want to play, if you're going to beat this St. Thomas team, you had better score. There goes Orth. Her shot was blocked by Spalding. It was smothered by Spalding. In transition we go with Krinsky lining one up. Too strong. Rebound Radford. Nearly lost it. And Isaacson comes up with it. Clark directing traffic. Clark always looks to take that contact. Whenever she goes over half court, she always puts the brakes on a bit to try to take that bump and get that whistle. Orth up top, down low. Jackie, left hand, too high off of the glass. Loose ball. Fosness got in there. It's a jump ball called. And with 7:48 to go, the arrow belongs to the Tommies. It'll be their ball. First Tommy fan we've heard from tonight. We always give shout-outs to both teams' fan groups. This is Patrick Hickey. He's listening in from Marco Island, Florida. A big group of them, he says. He doesn't say if it's a big group or a small group, but naturally, us being in the ratings business like we are, Glenn, right? Nod, yes. It's a big group watching in Marco Island, Florida, where I'm sure, I haven't looked up the weather. It's 13 degrees in St. Paul tonight. It's decidedly warmer there. I'm not even going to look it up. We'll just go with it's warmer. Turnover in the backcourt. Orth had it and traveled with it. So the Wildcats pay back the Tommy turnover with one of their own. Patrick, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for spending a part of your week with us. We hope you're having a good one. And Patrick's rooting for the Tommies tonight. We've got a timeout on the floor. 27-16, the Tommy lead, and 7:23 to go in the first half. Keep the emails coming, folks. wildcatsbooth@gmail.com. Tonight's broadcast is interactive.
For exceptional service and selection, look no further than Fury Motors in St. Paul. They're the #1 family-owned dealer to buy a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram since all the way back in 1963. So much to choose from, and they make the process easy. Also offering genuine service and financing. Visit stpaul.furymotors.com for more information. people's...
And we bring you back in to the Butler Center in St. Paul. Again, tonight's broadcast is interactive, whether you're watching on your smart TV. That's the new way, Glenn, that everybody watches these games. I know we've been streaming games at all levels. Divisions 3, 2, 1, it doesn't matter. But in the past, everybody listened on their laptops or smartphones. Short shot just inside of the arc for Spalding is off, and a weak side rebound for Clark, who is a very good rebounding guard. And there's that bump I was talking about. Couldn't have called that much better. You've seen her play enough of these years. She decidedly throws it from third to second gear as soon as she goes into the front court, and that time she got Kelsey Cox to bump her. And the sophomore from St. Michael commits her first foul, first against the Tommies in the second period. But now, Glenn, most people, some watch on their tablets or smartphones or on their desktop computers, but most people now can tune in on their smart TVs or plug their laptops into their TVs with the HDMI cable and watch on their TVs. So that's how most people choose to watch the MIAC now. Probably how our friends down in Florida are watching. Clark spins, left-handed layup is good. And Audra Clark has 8 points, long pass ahead. Spalding slams on the brakes and scores. She put a little pump fake on there as Isaacson went speeding by her. Hannah Spalding has 7 points. It's a 29-18 Tommy lead. If you're just joining us tonight, we welcome you to St. Paul and the Butler Center. Nice crowd filling up the bleachers across the way there normally is when these two teams square off. Geographically speaking, they're so close to one another, and both teams stock a lot of players from the state of Minnesota. Clark's going to get a breather, and we're going to get our first look at Chloe Venegas. Venegas playing in her 14th game this season, all 14 games, all off of the bench for the freshman. Renikoff, double team. She's trapped on the baseline, and timeout taken. It was Radford and Benjamin. Great defense, and a timeout taken on the baseline. We'll keep it here through the timeout. That's one of those plays I would love to see in basketball changed. The idea that you can take a timeout when you get trapped defensively. One of my least favorite rules in basketball. What do you think, Glenn, our engineer? As always, you agree with me because you're a smart guy. Think about all the sports that we, call baseball, basketball, hockey, football, volleyball. Basketball is the only sport where when you get jammed up, you can just take a timeout if your team has one. It's a smart play because you can do it, but a lot of people will be watching the NFL playoffs this week, and imagine if you were just about to take a sack and you looked over to the referee and said, timeout. It takes the drama out of a moment. But a smart play by the Tommies. Well, you'd put it back at the line of scrimmage and do the play over. Tommies pass on an open three. Not often they do that, but they found one that was more open. It was Renikoff. She now has 6 points, averages just under 11 per game. Last time out against Hamlin in that 67-46 win, Renikoff had 14. 32-18 lead for the Wildcats. And they better find something before the half expires. They've got 5 minutes and 16 seconds to cut this deficit. Well, that's going to be a pretty big hill to climb at the half. Three-pointer on the way, short for Johnson, but an offensive board. Isaacson, she'll try one of her own. That's short as well. Spalding, the defensive rebound. Healed it away from Benjamin, and the Tommies look to push the pace. And shot well from three. Spalding's going to give one a try. That's too strong. Rebound Isaacson. So, not saying anything about the players that do take a timeout in that situation. 25 years ago, Chris Webber tried to call for one in a Final Four game, didn't have it, and it cost Michigan dearly. But if you have the timeout to use it, it's a fine thing to do. I just wish you couldn't do it. But there'd really be no way to legislate it. So what do I know? Because how could you say when somebody's really, quote unquote, in distress or in trouble? It's pretty open for interpretation. So I get why it would be hard to legislate, but it does kill what could be a dramatic moment. Slows it up. Benjamin, shot short, rebound, nicely tipped out by Spalding. Sometimes those big, experienced post players, they don't get all the rebounds, but a lot of times they're awfully good at redirecting them. Three-pointer short. Offensive board, Porter. She had it poked away, and it'll stay with the Tommies. Here comes a host of subs. Kerchak, Clark, Orth in for the Wildcats, and Roland, Radke, and Hattelstad coming in for the Tommies. So a new look with 3:53 to go in the first half. This Tommies team is very tough. Off to a 6-0 start in conference play. Nice move by Porter, who has 4 points, 34-18. And what makes them so tough is they're really good down low with Spalding, and they've got three-point shooters all over the floor. Orth going to work offensively, lost her footing, was able to get it out to Jackie, who's able to chase it down. Wildcats will have a dozen seconds to make something happen. I think it's going to come from number 13. There goes Clark around the screen. Long two-pointer, too strong. Rebound uncontested for Porter. Tommies are really leaning into the Wildcats right now. Looked like they were going to run away with it early. Wildcats stormed back, make it close in the first half, but right now the Tommies are really squeezing them. Three-pointer good for Porter. 7 first half points for Porter, and a 19-point Tommy lead. First game between these two was just over a month and change ago, as Orth got fouled by Roland. Those two will see each other a lot over the next 4 years. Both freshmen, both good post players, and that time it was Orth getting the better of Roland. And Orth to the free throw line, where she shoots 55% on the season. Orth a pretty complete player for a freshman, but that's probably one category where she'd like to see that number a little higher. First one, no good. That game back on December 1st, an 82-66 win for the Tommies. Spalding had a big game in that one with 28 and 13. Renikoff as well with 18 of her own. Orth, true to her season average, goes 1 of 2. Has had a really good first half. 9 of the Wildcats, 19 points. But the scoring hasn't been very balanced. Orth has 9. Clark has 8. The only other 2 coming from Jackie, so just 3 players have scored from St. Kate's, and 17 of the 19 have come from those 2 as Porter picks up the loose ball and scores. She has 9 points. It's a 20-point lead for the Tommies. Clark, layup, rattled in and out. Rebound for Radke. The Tommies are wearing out St. Kate's on the glass defensively. They are just gobbling everything up. And Hattelstad, she traveled. Good defense by Johnson as she closed her out and got Hattelstad to shuffle her feet. Sophomore out of Alexandria turns it over, and we've got 2:02 to go in the first half. We'll be back on the air. Make sure you tune in on Saturday. Wildcats will be hosting Gustavus. Boy, this part of the schedule is absolutely grueling for St. Kate's. Clark drives to the basket through the foul. Porter is going to be called for her first. And Clark for the 3rd time today heads to the free throw line. How's this for a schedule? This is not what you asked for from Santa coming out of the holidays. Wildcats beat up on Carleton on the 2nd, 63-48, but the schedule since then as Clark knocks down her first. Since then you've had Bethel. They're 4-2 in conference play. St. Thomas tonight, they're 6-0. And Gustavus 4-2. So 14-4, those three teams combined in conference play, those 3 straight games for St. Kate's. Not much of a breathing room in there for the Wildcats. You start thinking about how many wins it's going to take to squeeze into that playoff picture. Right now the Wildcats sitting at 3-3. And you start looking over the schedule and you go, well, that's a bit of a grinder coming out of the holidays. Did well to beat Carleton, but Bethel, St. Thomas, and Gustavus That's pretty tough. And then St. Ben's, now they're only 2-4. That game is on the road at McAllister. They're 0-6, so it does soften up a bit. But if you're the Wildcats, you probably got to pick off one of these big dogs in the conference at some point. Charge on the turnover. Porter going to be called for her second foul. Good defense by the Wildcats. Minute 18 to go in the first half. And, you know, that game on Saturday at Bethel in Arden Hills, that was close in the fourth quarter, but Bethel was able to make some adjustments, and the Wildcats had trouble getting their offense going in the late stages of that fourth quarter. Would have been a good one to pick up. Clark drives, pulls it up in the lane, rattled in and out. Audra's had a couple of those tonight. Worth, the rebound, chases it back outside for Audra. Crossover dribble, now backs it up and will reset. 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Plenty of time for the Wildcats to operate. Again, stay tuned at halftime. We'll have a Wildcat player profile, a great conversation with Ashley Fosness, a sophomore out of Britain, South Dakota. And, ooh, that one could have gone either way. Brenda looked like she picked up her dribble, shuffled her feet, but they're going to say that that was because of a Wildcat foul. The second of the second quarter, and the first against Emma Nelson. Nelson has played in all 14 games this season, all off of the bench, and averages 5 minutes a game. Spalding goes through 3 Wildcats and somehow got her rebound. A jump ball is going to be called. Kerchek tied up Spalding. Wildcats have the arrow, but Ruth Sin in her 13th season has to be pleased with the way her team came out early, knocking down 3-pointers. And, of course, then they always have Porter and Spalding in the post. But again, the scoring has been hard to come by. Just Orth, Radford, and Clark. That's it. Wildcats haven't taken as good a care of the basketball in this second half, and that was the closing moments. Wildcats forced a Tommy turnover in the closing seconds, and we have played 20 minutes of basketball in St. Paul. The second quarter dominated by St. Thomas. And your score heading into the half, St. Thomas 39, St. Kate's 21. We'll take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard when we come back in the second half. We'll have a look at the first half statistics. We'll talk about the second half. The Tommies will look to improve to 7-0 on the season. The Wildcats, if they want to go above 500 to 4-3 in conference play, it would take a dramatic comeback. Again, stay tuned right here. It is our halftime show and our player profile, and a great conversation today as we're going to catch up with Ashley Fosness, the 5'9" sophomore guard out of Britain, South Dakota. And we'll have that for you here. Are we ready for it, Glenn? I'm getting the reassuring nod, so I'll get out of the way. Enjoy our conversation with Ashley Fosness.
Growing up out there in South Dakota, and how did you wind up playing your collegiate basketball in St. Paul?
I knew I wanted to go to a school that has occupational therapy, and I also wanted to play basketball. So just doing some research, the closest schools to me were UND and USD, which I'm not a huge fan of either of those schools, I guess. So I guess that's kind of how I ended up at St. Kate's, kind of the best of both worlds.
We can turn your whole profile into bashing those two schools if you like. Actually, no, we'll stick with the positives. We'll stick with St. Kate's. So really, St. Kate's offered you a perfect blend of what you hope to do professionally, and then also gave you this opportunity athletically as well. So it sounds like it was a pretty easy decision.
Right.
Let's talk about, where do you fit in on this year's team? How do you see your role in the 2018-2019 Wildcat basketball team?
I personally see myself just going out there and doing the best I can to contribute to the team, whether it be on offense or getting a stop on defense.
A big hustle play.
Yeah, hustle plays.
What are you trying to improve on? Everybody sets goals. Everybody has a mental picture of where they want to get better, where they want to develop as the season goes along. What is it for you?
I would say just having more confidence on offense and driving to the basket, and also just helping pick up my other teammates while I'm on the bench, or motivating others.
It is something, though, isn't it, that when you take that jump from high school sports, where you're probably the best player on the floor most nights, you jump into college basketball. It's a different animal, and it takes some time to find that confidence to assert yourself offensively, doesn't it?
Right.
And it's always a work in progress. What are some of the players that you enjoy watching? I don't know if you find yourself, if you're just a player or a fan, whether it be at the college level, the pro level, the men's game, the women's game. Who are some of the players that you watch and you go, I pay money to watch that player? Who are some of the players that you enjoy watching and try to pull something from their game and put it into the Ashley Fosness game?
I don't know. One of my favorite players is just Stephen Curry. He's just fun to watch because he's not cocky while he plays, but he's obviously one of the best players in the league, and he just goes out there and does his thing with confidence and pushes his other teammates to do the same.
Do you have a favorite basketball moment from your career? A game that stands out, or a moment, a big shot, a hustle play?
Last year, actually, one of my favorite moments was after the Augsburg games. We were able to make it to playoffs after that game. It was just a really cool moment to celebrate with the team, something I'll never forget.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you come into college sports and you think those memories are going to be made on the floor, but oftentimes it's those moments in the bus or in the locker room after a big win. What team goals? What are your team goals? What are your personal goals for the rest of the season? We still have a lot of season left ahead of us.
Right.
What are the goals going forward?
I think as a team goal, we can all agree that we'd like to make it to playoffs again. That's a pretty huge deal, and make it past that first round. Individually, just keep working on my stats and improving my field goal percentages and
efficiency.
Yeah, right.
Get you out of here on this one. I'll put you on the spot for this last one. You said playoffs. This team will make the playoffs and go past the first round if they fill in the blank.
It's a tough one. If we just got to keep working on getting those 50-50 balls, keep one game at a time, go into every game thinking anyone could win that game. Just continue working hard.
From Britain, South Dakota, she is Ashley Fosness, and this has been today's Wildcat Player Profile.
Ashley Fosness, our first Wildcat Player Profile for you here at halftime from St. Paul. And Ashley kind enough to bat leadoff for us, if you will. It's halftime. We've played 20 minutes of basketball. The Tommies lead the Wildcats 39-21. Wildcats have a big hill to climb in the second half. Keep it tuned right here. 20 more minutes of basketball to go. We'll break with the players, and when we rejoin you, we'll take a look back at the first half and preview the second half.
As a family-owned and operated business since 1971, Goodmanson Construction continues to develop concrete relationships with their commercial and residential customers throughout the upper Midwest. Questions or concerns about concrete, asphalt, and the company's installation process, check out their website at goodmansonconstruction.com. Thank you, Goodmanson Construction. A proud sponsor of Wildcat Athletics since all the way back in 1971, the Universal Athletic Team has been passionate about fueling the dreams of athletes, and they put all their know-how into doing just that. By servicing and selling athletic gear to local athletes, high schools, and colleges, Universal Athletic has dedicated its heart and soul to the support of sports, fitness, and health programs in schools and communities. Transporting Wildcat athletes is in the capable hands of Northfield Lines Incorporated, dedicated to ensuring that your travel experience is a positive one. Call to request a quote or to make a reservation at 888-670-8068 or visit their website at northfieldlines.com. Twin Cities Orthopedics offers a full spectrum of orthopedic care to individuals suffering sports-related problems and injuries. Their doctors are team physicians for St. Catherine's University as well as Augsburg University, Hamline University, and others around the state of Minnesota. Visit tcomn.com, and thank you to Twin Cities Orthopedics. For exceptional service and selection, look no further than Fury Motors in St. Paul. They're the #1 family-owned dealer to buy a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram since all the way back in 1963. So much to choose from, and they make the shopping process easy. Also offering genuine service and financing. Visit stpaul.furymotors.com for more information. People's Electric Company is your full-service electrical contractor, one of the Upper Midwest's largest. From building and process automation, communications, construction services, energy savings, testing, and maintenance. Founded in 1922 by William F. Lindbergh and located in St. Paul, find out more information on People's Electric Company at www.peoplesco.com. Wildcat Athletics is proudly supported by the Ryan Company, the Hickey family, U.S. Bank, the Loeffler Companies, Cone U.S., and the Opus Group. Wildcat supporters this season also include Shapco Printing, Sodexo, Terra General Contractors, the O'Neill Group, ProTech Designs, and Floors by Becker. Other Wildcat sponsors include McGough Construction, the DLR Group, Push Pedal and Pull, the Newman Family, Sava Tree, Jimmy John's, and Munchie's Frozen Yogurt. As a family-owned and operated business since 1971, Goodmanson Construction continues to develop concrete relationships with their commercial and residential customers throughout the Upper Midwest. Questions or concerns about concrete, asphalt, and the company's installation process, check out their website at goodmansonconstruction.com. Thank you, Goodmanson Construction. A proud sponsor of Wildcat Athletics since all the way back in 1971, the Universal Athletic Team has been passionate about fueling the dreams of athletes, and they put all their know-how into doing just that. By servicing and selling athletic gear to local athletes, high schools, and colleges, Universal Athletic has dedicated its heart and soul to the support of sports, fitness, and health programs in schools and communities. Transporting Wildcat athletes is in the capable hands of Northfield Lines Incorporated, dedicated to ensuring that your travel experience is a positive one. Call to request a quote or to make a reservation at 888-670-8068 or visit their website at northfieldlines.com. Twin Cities Orthopedics offers a full spectrum of orthopedic care to individuals suffering sports-related problems and injuries. Their doctors are team physicians for St. Catherine's University as well as Augsburg University, Hamline University, and others around the state of Minnesota. Visit tcomn.com, and thank you to Twin Cities Orthopedics. For exceptional service and selection, look no further than Fury Motors in St. Paul. They're the #1 family-owned dealer to buy a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram since all the way back in 1963. So much to choose from, and they make the shopping process easy. Also offering genuine service and financing. Visit stpaul.furymotors.com for more information. People's Electric Company is your full-service electrical contractor, one of the Upper Midwest's largest. From building and process automation, communications, construction services, energy savings, testing, and maintenance. Founded in 1922 by William F. Lindbergh and located in St. Paul, find out more information on People's Electric Company at www.peoplesco.com. Wildcat Athletics is proudly supported by the Ryan Company, the Hickey family, U.S. Bank, the Loeffler Companies, Cone U.S., and the Opus Group. Wildcat supporters this season also include Shapco Printing, Sodexo, Terra General Contractors, the O'Neill Group, ProTech Designs, and Floors by Becker. Other Wildcat sponsors include McGough Construction, the DLR Group, Push Pedal and Pull, the Newman family, Sava Tree, Jimmy John's, and Munchie's Frozen Yogurt.
We've played 20 minutes from St. Paul. Matt Nelson back with you as we welcome you into St. Catherine University and its Butler Center. Engineer is Glenn Thompson. Thanks again to Ashley Fostness for joining us for our halftime show. That's the first time we've done that, and I think it's going to be a hit with fans. Trying to remember, we've got other great interviews coming up in the weeks ahead with Jackie Radford, I know, is in there. Let me remind myself who else was on there. Sam Orth. I know we did one with Emma Nelson. Oh, we've got Katie Benjamin.
Jackie, Katie, Lauren, and Sam.
And Sam Orth as well, Lauren Isaacson. So we're bouncing all around the roster. Veterans, youngsters, and gives you, the fans, a chance to get to know these student athletes a little bit better, see a side of their personality that you don't always get to see on the floor. That was really a fun day. And there is an Audra Clark one as well, and that we could run that as its own. We could do like a Ken Burns documentary for that one. That was a long chat, and we barely scraped the surface with Audra. We could have gone all day long. I know we could have, because I think I only asked 2 questions, and I think we pulled about 12 minutes out of it. So it was a great conversation, and this team has some real personalities on it. And a good mix of veterans and, like I mentioned, talented young players. St. Thomas has the ball as we open up the second half. That's Porter, too strong. Rebound Spalding, and she put it right back up and in. Orth and Fostness that time had no answer for Hannah Spalding, who has 9 points. And the first 2 of the second half makes it a 20-point Tommy lead. Johnson backpedaling, driving. Now Orth has it. We were talking at the half, and this St. Thomas team is very, very good, but it's a great demonstration of how far this team has come as Fostness has it stolen away. Brazil to the basket, and that was picked off by Johnson. Now a loose ball into the bleachers. It's Wildcat ball. But we were saying, we've done Wildcat basketball and volleyball for a good long while. And there was a time when this program, Sarah Eisenhower was here earlier, and she now works for the UMAC conference. But she used to work here at St. Kate's, and we were talking about there were times years ago where, nice pass, Jackie, down low to Sam Orth. Orth has 11 points. That leads all Wildcat scorers. Where the team would really struggle to have 7 or 8 players for a game. And some of those games were pretty lopsided, to put it politely, as Clark is called for the foul. And granted, you're never going to win every game that you suit up for, but blowouts really have been few and far between since Don Mulhern took over and in the last few years with Sean. And that is just a testament to where this program was, where it is, and where it's going. Three-point shot short. Fostness tipped it up. Orth came up with it. In transition we go with Clark. Oh, absolutely. Clark, nice pass. And strong baseline drive for Orth. She has a baker's dozen. It's 41-25. Renikoff, cross-court pass, Brazil. Now Renikoff, behind the back dribbling, got by Clark, got by Orth, but couldn't finish the layup, and that's going to be a foul against St. Thomas. Johnson was there, had good position, and was bumped from behind by Krinsky. Her second foul, the first of the third quarter for St. Thomas. I mentioned earlier McAllister 0-6. They're now 1-6. They won earlier tonight. A 75-51. Wow, they clobbered St. Olaf on the road. The Oles fall to 2-6 in the MIAC, and they fall to McAllister 75-51. That was their first win in women's basketball in conference play this season. Radford with the left hand. Spins, dishes for Johnson. 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Screen from Orth. Quick shot, Johnson. Too strong, weak side rebound for Renikoff. Up in Moorhead, it was the Cobbers hosting the Pipers. A 3-4 Piper team taking on a 4-3 Concordia team. And Concordia held them off. 54-50, the final score in what you probably thought would be a close game. It was, and the Cobbers held off the Pipers to win by 4 and improved to 5-3. Cobbers fall to 3-5. Ruth Sin wants a timeout. She gets it. She bails out Brazil. And we've got our first timeout of the third quarter. Let's break, and when we come back, we'll check the rest of the out-of-town women's basketball scoreboard. You're listening to Wildcat Basketball. Tommies 41, Wildcats 25.
As a family-owned and operated business since 1971, Goodmanson Construction continues to develop concrete relationships with their commercial and residential customers throughout the upper Midwest. Questions or concerns about concrete, asphalt, and the company's installation process, check out their website at goodmansonconstruction.com. Thank you, Goodmanson Construction. A proud sponsor of Wildcat Athletics since all the way back in 1971, the Universal Athletic Team has been passionate about fueling the dreams of athletes, and they put all their know-how into doing just that. By servicing and selling athletic gear to local athletes, high schools, and colleges, Universal Athletic has dedicated its heart and soul to the support of sports, fitness, and health programs in schools and communities.
Out of the St. Thomas timeout, they'll have 17 seconds on their shot clock, leading 41-25. Spalding had it tipped away by Radford, and Orth comes up with it. What do we got out there on the floor? Fostness, Johnson, Radford, Orth, and Clark. Radford goes to her left. The scoring still has primarily come from just two sources for St. Kate's. Fostness will try the three-pointer and knock it down. Fostness averages 3 a game. She now has that after knocking down the three-pointer. And it cuts the Tommy lead, which was as many as 20, down to 13. Big shot for Fostness. And that's what you got to have. You better have some scoring off of your bench if you're going to hang in there with St. Thomas. Low lining three-pointer. Doggone it. Porter knocks one down. She's got a dozen points. The Tommies answer the Wildcats 3 with one of their own. Big shot for Porter, who's now started all 14 games this season for St. Thomas. Her check in. Johnson out for a breather. Promise to check the rest of the out-of-town scoreboard. I mentioned Concordia beat Hamlin. McAllister thumped St. Olaf. No scores in, but Bethel is at home tonight in Arden Hills, hosting Augsburg. Spalding called for the foul. It's going to send Orth to the free throw line. you realize how good of a young player Orth is when you see her playing against a veteran like Spalding and holding her own. The first foul against Spalding sends Orth back to the free throw line. Her second trip to the charity stripe tonight, where she's 1 of 2. And she goes 1 of 2 yet again. And loose ball, Wildcats ball. Radford was able to chase it down. Got tangled up with Krinsky. And Krinsky the last to touch it as it rolled over the baseline. A couple of quick subs coming in for the Tommies. Krinsky and Spalding out. Fresh shot clock for St. Kate's as they try to scrap their way back into this thing. And that's what it's going to have to be when you don't have Cam Bryce on the floor. You're going to have to win some loose balls, knock down some three-pointers, and ground and pound a team. Pass down low. Radford had it, lost it. Fosness hits the hardwood, keeps it alive. Jackie is there to chase it down and direct traffic. Wanted Orth, instead Clark, top of the key. Orth, Radford, Clark, and Fosness, the lone scorers for St. Kate's. 4 seconds left to work with, and Clark charge. Coming over and drawing the charge was Brazil, and it's a turnover for St. Kate's. So Bethel's hosting Augsburg tonight. I mentioned no scoring from that one. Elsewhere around the conference, Gustavus at home against St. Ben's. The Wildcats have Gustavus on Saturday. And in Winona, St. Mary's hosting Carleton. That game is in the halfway through the third quarter. It's 32-23, the Cardinals on top of the Knights. Let's step aside. You're listening to Wildcat Basketball.
Transporting Wildcat athletes is in the capable hands of Northfield Lines Incorporated, dedicated to ensuring that your travel experience is a positive one. Call to request a quote or to make a reservation at 888-670-8068 or visit their website at northfieldlines.com.
Back to work we go. The Wildcats have really played well these last couple of minutes of game clock. They trailed 44-29. Rendiford drives, kicks. The Tommies look to get the ball inside because they try to create space for those good three-point shooters. And you can see that's always on their mind whenever the ball goes inside. Renikoff in the corner. Rendiford, pump fake, lost Clark, pulls it up and knocks it down from 15 feet out. Nice moves that time for Renikoff. And she now has 8. Orth under the basket, double team, spun out of it, ran for cover and got it to Radford. Now Clark, left-handed dribbles, picks it up on the wing. Jackie, three-pointer, knocked it down. Nice shot for Radford. Radford with 5 points. Radford has had an up and down season with the three-point shot, but that one was good right out of the hands. Down low, Rowland got deep, rattled around, and got the roll. Rin Rowland with 4 points. That's right on her season average of 3.8. That rounds up to 4. Following my public school arithmetic, and a foul is going to be called against, I believe, the Tommies. Let's see if it is Brazil. No, it's going to go against Porter. Third foul against Porter. Third foul against St. Thomas. That is new math, Glenn. What is the, forgot what that's called now. Clark had it, and her shot was blocked. What is that new math that they teach? No, you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a new way that they teach even basic math. What's it called? Common Core. Common Core. For the remainder of the broadcast, I'll be doing my arithmetic with Common Core. Maybe that's not what it is. It's highly controversial. No, Common Core. It is Common Core. I just looked it up. New math. Common Core. But it's like, you know, to do 2 plus 2, you do this whole shtick to get there. Well, there's a method to the madness. That's why we're up here doing games and not solving the world's problems or, you know, figuring out how to get the next rocket to Mars. Foul on the Wildcats in the backcourt. This one's against Kerchek. Her second foul. Common Core math. Second foul. Because she has 3 fouls less than 5. That's 2 fouls. Because that was the whole thing, right? They were like, you know, we're going to get away, you know, do away with this Common Core curriculum. Foul down low. It wasn't going to matter. I have 2 daughters, and I was never going to be much help when the arithmetic homework came out anyway, but I can do a batting average in baseball. The foul against the Wildcats is against Benjamin, and it sends Spalding to the free throw line with the Tommies up by 16, and Spalding goes to the free throw line to pad that total. Spalding now in double digits. She's got 10 points. As a rule, I'm very anti looking stuff up when you're in conversation, but that time I had to do it. I had to know what that new math was called because you brought it up. Spalding goes 1 of 2 from the free throw line, and Kerchek calls in the rebound. Because I hate that when you're having a conversation with somebody and it's like, oh, what was that actor? Nobody even takes a second to think about the actor's name anymore. It's a race to the front pocket for the cell phone. And get off of my lawn while you're at it. 2:25 left in the third quarter. Tommies drive. Spalding. Oh, nice job defensively. Her shot was blocked by Kerchek. Kerchek is one of those players that comes off of the bench and is not afraid to mix it up. She's not afraid to create some contact, not afraid to block a shot. And I thought that was something that Don Mulhern highlighted nicely in our pregame conversation. He said, the one thing I liked about our young players against St. Thomas the first time out is they didn't play scared. And that is something you love as a coach. Foul against Kerchek, and count the bucket for Krogsen. Krogsen to the free throw line for a chance at a three-point play. And that lead, that was as many as 20. And in the second half, as small as 13, can go back to 20, depending on the next free throw. And the shot rattled in and out, but Nelson can't come up with a loose ball. It's out of bounds, and it's Tommy's ball. And a bit of a look of exasperation from head coach Don Mulhern. You understand as a coach where that frustration stems from. St. Thomas is tough enough to beat straight up, but you want your team to come up with loose balls, and this is going to be another foul. I think this one will go against Venegas, who came in there to help Benjamin out defensively. It is a foul against the Wildcat freshman, Venegas. And yes, you're right, Glenn. The new math is done in brackets. I'm looking at a new way of doing it, and I'm lost. I'm lost, but I know it's a 21-point Tommy lead right now. It's 32 minus 12, and then you figure it is done in brackets. You're right. 12 minus 3 is 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. 20 minus 10 is 30, and 30 plus 2 is 32, and that's how you come up with the answer 20. You with me over there? Benjamin, three-pointer. Too strong. Rebound on the weak side by Renikoff. My eyes have gone cross trying to figure that out. Three-pointer on the way. That one is short, and a strong side rebound that time by Clark. I mentioned earlier, she is a very good rebounder. 6 rebounds per game for Clark, who found Isaacson. Now Clark has it. Venegas. Again, the schedule doesn't get much easier. Saturday, the Wildcats host Gustavus. 1 o'clock tip-off for that one. Traditionally, the Wildcats have played at 3 on Saturdays. They moved that to 1. Isaacson drives, got fouled, and will go to the line to shoot 2. The foul is the 4th against St. Thomas in this third quarter. The first for the freshman Krogseng, and it sends Isaacson to the line. First shot is good. Isaacson playing in her 8th game this season, all off of the bench. All right, I got to get rid of this Common Core math. I'm closing that window and going back to the out-of-town scoreboard. Good trip to the free throw line for Isaacson. She makes them both. Fostness back in, Nelson out. Yeah, that noise you hear is the sparks coming out of my brain from that Common Core math, new math. I can always rely on the shooting percentage, a batting average, a score on the board. That's about the extent of my mathematic prowess. Decimals and percents I'm good at, yep. Spalding off of the glass and scores. Adelstad is a sophomore, and she's already learned that a good place to look on that inbound pass when you're tasked with triggering the ball inbounds is number 42 in purple. 55-34, Tommy lead. Fostness drives, header shot blocked and stolen away. Krogseng, great defense. Tommies in a first place tie in the MIAC. The Augies haven't lost yet this season either. They're 6-0. And Benjamin ties up Adelstad. It's a jump ball. And the Wildcats have the arrow. 10 seconds to go in the third quarter. It'll be Wildcat ball. And nipping at their heels, Bethel at 4-2 and Gustavus at 4-2 as well. After that, it's a muddled mess for the playoff pictures, which still very much includes St. Kate's at 3-3. 3 seconds left. Clark three-pointer off of the back iron. Fostness gave it a heave back up. It would have counted if it was good. It's short, and we go to the fourth quarter. 10 minutes to go, and a 21-point lead for St. Thomas. You are listening to Wildcat Basketball.
As a family-owned and operated business since 1971, Goodmanson Construction continues to develop concrete relationships with their commercial and residential customers throughout the upper Midwest. Questions or concerns about concrete, asphalt, and the company's installation process, check out their website at goodmansonconstruction.com. Thank you, Goodmanson Construction. A proud sponsor of Wildcat Athletics since all the way back in 1971, the Universal Athletic Team has been passionate about fueling the dreams of athletes, and they put all their know-how into doing just that. By servicing and selling athletic gear to local athletes, high schools, and colleges, Universal Athletic has dedicated its heart and soul to the support of sports, fitness, and health programs in schools and communities. Transporting Wildcat athletes is in the capable hands of Northfield Lines Incorporated, dedicated to ensuring that your travel experience is a positive one. Call to request a quote or to make a reservation at 888-670-8068 or visit their website at northfieldlines.com.
10 minutes of basketball left from St. Paul. Right now the Tommies in control of this one. They lead the Wildcats 55-34. And Nelson alongside of Engineer. Glenn Thompson, the man who only owns shirts that are plaid or flannel. That's it. Radke drives. Spalding fouled. Count the basket and a foul shot coming up. The foul is the first of the fourth quarter against St. Kate's. Count the bucket, and the foul against Isaacson is her first. Spalding to the free throw line. Spalding with 14 points so far in this one. And she knocks it down. Spalding had 11 points and 16 boards last time out against the Pipers, and had 28 points and 13 rebounds the last time out against St. Kate's back on December 1st. Isaacson traveled. It's a turnover for St. Kate's. 9:26 left in the fourth quarter. Right now, I'm not ready to wave the white flag on this one if you're a Wildcats player or fan or coach. But I think right now you want to try to find something to feel good about, some momentum before you go back out on the floor on Saturday against Gustavus. You want to try to find something that you can take with you into practice Thursday and Friday before you come back out here at home on Saturday. Pass down low, and Renikoff stepped out of bounds. So lost her footing on that baseline, turned it over. And the Wildcats will have the ball trailing by 24. Orth, long two-pointer. Too heavy off of the back iron. Loose ball. Orth comes up with it. Tried to get it to Isaacson. It was stolen away by Hattelstad. Renikoff, Spalding, double team. Hattelstad. Spalding again. Double team. Kicks outside. Creating. Renikoff drives, dishes. Spalding right through the back door. Went through two Wildcats. Found her way to the rim. And now has 17 points. And if you look at this game for St. Kate's, it's just the Tommies got off to a great start in the first quarter. When they were the home team, and here on the road they did the same thing. Orth, she scores. She has 16 points. Wildcats tried a little full court press and deflected the ball out of bounds. It's just awfully hard. It's awfully hard to play comeback basketball against this St. Thomas team. It makes life very difficult. You know, I think you really hope, if you're taking on this team, especially without Cam Bryce, you hope that you catch them snoozing a little bit on a Wednesday night. You hit them early with some three-pointers and hope that they didn't bring their three-point shot to the game, and throw everything you got in the kitchen sink at Spalding and hope for the best. But unfortunately for the Wildcats, the Tommies just came out and made those first four three-pointers, and that was definitely not what you were looking for if you were the Wildcats. Playing a little short-handed tonight. Clark going to work offensively. Leans in and draws the foul. Nobody better at that than Audra Clark. 2 shots upcoming for the Wildcat guard. The foul against Krinsky is her third. And Audra to the free throw line, where she's been very good this evening. Averages 15.5 per game. And sitting at 10 right now. Make it 11. And Clark's second shot in and out, rebounded by Porter. She got muscled to the floor by Radford, no whistle, and Porter just did well to keep her dribble alive. 7 minutes left. Rendefer. Brazil. Wildcats go into a 3-2 zone. Three-pointer on the way. Porter. That's off. Spalding rebound. Heaved it up towards the iron. No good. Rebound Kerchek. And she was fouled in the backcourt. Second foul against St. Thomas in the fourth period. And I've got it as the fourth foul against Krinsky. So do our scorers downstairs. 4 fouls against Krinsky. Fosness to the bench. Johnson back in for St. Kate's. Yeah, that bottom third of the playoff scenario, you're going to have, you got Concordia at 3-3, Hamlin at 3-3, St. Mary's at 3-3, St. Olaf at 2-5 now, St. Kate's at 3-3. That's going to be a knockout, drag them out right to the last week of the season, I think, for that 5th and 6th spots in the playoffs. Absolutely, very tight. And I don't think any one team out of those ones that I listed stands out from the others. It's really going to be who gets hot the last 2 weeks of the season. Jump ball as Kerchek ties up Porter. It'll stay on this end with St. Kate's. You better beat up on the teams that you're better than, and like I said earlier, maybe steal 1 or 2 away from one of those top 3 or 4 teams, and you'll be in business. Something around a 500 record, though, is going to probably squeeze you into that last playoff spot like it did last year. Kerchek, scoop layup is up and in. Her first bucket of the night. See, this is what happens when a game isn't too close down to the wire. Glenn starts making, like, I guess you call them dad jokes off of the microphone. No, you don't get arrested if you steal a playoff spot. Roland with 6 points. I think, though, 500 will probably get you in, looking at these teams. You remember last year, it didn't look like St. Kate's was well positioned to make the playoffs. Then those last 2 weeks happened, and before you knew it, there they were heading off to the playoffs. Radford 3, got another one. So Jackie's knocked down a couple of 3-pointers, cuts the Tommy lead to 20. Good night of shooting for Jackie. Shot too strong for Brenda Furr. She's made a couple tonight, but has struggled when the Wildcats have been there to play D. Radford for Orth, open just beyond the free throw line. Rebound Brenda Furr. Brenda for a 3-pointer. There, she knocked it down. She's got a good 3-point shot. Just leave it to the broadcaster to say when somebody's struggled a couple of times with their shot, they'll just step right up and knock one down. Bullseye, swish. Radford, whoa, behind the ball. Clark got hammered setting a screen. It's going to be a foul against St. Thomas and against Porter. Her 4th foul, the 4th against St. Thomas in the 4th period. So now Porter and Krinsky playing with 4 fouls. Both teams still playing their starters. Although it's a pretty insurmountable lead right now for St. Thomas here in the 4th quarter. Radford, why not? She's made her last 2, made her last 3. 11 points for Jackie. Big night shooting that 3-ball. That's her 3rd 3-pointer for Jackie. And Radford is one of those players that's asked to do a lot of the dirty work for this team, but she's really had a good night shooting the basketball. And there's just no doubt about it. Clark and Radford, they're the 2 leaders out there for St. Kate's. Orth is the up-and-comer, but the undecided leaders or captains of this team would be Radford and Clark. Eight seconds on the shot clock for St. Kate's. Kerchek had it poked away, got it back. Now she drives. A little bit of a push-up, a little bit of a pump fake. Left-handed heave is off, and another rebound for Spalding. Spalding is a handful, has been in her career at St. Thomas. The formula over these last 5 or 6 years for St. Thomas has been, let's get 2 really good post players and a bunch of players who can knock down 3-pointers, and that's done them well over the years. Timeout on the floor. Tommies by 20. It's 60-45, and you are listening to Wildcat Basketball.
Twin Cities Orthopedics offers a full spectrum of orthopedic care to individuals suffering sports-related problems and injuries. Their doctors are team physicians for St. Catherine's University as well as Augsburg University, Hamlin University, and others around the state of Minnesota. Visit tcomn.com, and thank you to Twin Cities Orthopedics. For exceptional service and selection, look no further than Fury Motors in St. Paul. They're the #1 family-owned dealer to buy a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram since all the way back in 1963. So much to choose from, and they make the shopping process easy, also offering genuine service and financing. Visit stpaul.furymotors.com for more information. People's Electric Company is your full-service electrical contractor, one of the Upper Midwest's largest. From building and process automation, communications, construction services, energy savings, testing, and maintenance. Founded in 1922 by William F. Lindbergh and located in St. Paul, find out more information on People's Electric Company at www.peoplesco.com.
Welcome you back in. Our engineer must be getting past your bedtime, Glenn Thompson, disputing some of the copy on one of those ads. I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it's on the teleprompter, I read it. If it's on the sheet, I read it. You're going to have to take that up with the experts that wrote that copy. Nelson for Fosness. Wide open. A little too strong. And a rebound, Kurchek. Johnson, three-pointer. That's good. First 3 points of the night for Johnson. And the Wildcats take a timeout. There's 2:13 left. It looks like these two teams are going to play it down to the wire. 2:13 to go. 65-48 the score. Tommies on top.
Wildcat Athletics is proudly supported by the Ryan Company, the Hickey family, U.S. Bank, the Loeffler Companies, Cone U.S., and the Opus Group. Wildcat supporters this season also include Shapco Printing, Sodexo, Terra General Contractors, the O'Neill Group, ProTech Designs, and Floors by Becker. Other Wildcat sponsors include McGough Construction, the DLR Group, Push Pedal and Pull, the Newman family, Sava Tree, Jimmy John's, and Munchie's Frozen Yogurt. As a family,
we're back in St. Paul. Matt Nelson alongside of hardworking engineer Glenn Thompson, who I make fun of a lot on air, but is the hardest working man in the business and the very best there is at what he does. Thank you, sir, for all of the hard work making tonight's broadcast possible. And we're going to have a turnover. Travel called as Renikoff lost her footing. I don't know if she hit a wet spot on the floor. The Wildcats took that timeout, applied a full court press, and forced a turnover. Mission accomplished for head coach Don Mulhern. That's what you like to see out of a timeout. And with the young players he has on this roster, you look out there right now, it's all youngsters. And that's how they're going to play out these last few minutes like it's a close game. That's why they forced the turnover, weren't able to get the bucket, and the Tommies will set up shop offensively. You know, for a freshman or a sophomore, you can't just say, well, you know, it's lopsided, there's a minute 50 to go, we're just going to throw that minute 52 in the waste bucket. You got to play it out because that's valuable experience for young players. You only get 80 minutes of basketball a week. No more new math talk, Glenn. Kurchek drives. You get 80 minutes because there's 2 games. There's 40 a game. That's 20 less than 100. Blocking foul called. The third foul. It's Krogseng. It'll send Kurchek to the free throw line. Scoring balanced out a little bit in the second half. Again, in the first half, it was just the Orth and Clark show. Wildcats now have gotten points from Kurchek, Isaacson, Orth, Radford, Johnson, Clark and Fosness knocked down the three-pointer as well. Lining free throw is a bit too strong. Tommies come up with a rebound and work the ball into the front court. 90 seconds to go in the ball game. Gustavus next time out for St. Kate's. 1 o'clock tip-off. We always log on and do about a 10-minute pregame show. So join us at 12:50 on Saturday. Foul called is going to send Roland to the free throw line. Third foul against St. Kate's. And the second against Benjamin.
Second personal, second team.
It's an exciting time to be a basketball fan in the Twin Cities. This spring, Minneapolis will host the NCAA Division I men's basketball Final Four. So for basketball fans in this town, it's just going to be a fun spring. I'm really looking forward to it. Second shot in and out, and Benjamin tied up with Radke. And both players playing with a bit of emotion, but it's a jump ball and it'll stay with St. Thomas. Those games will be at US Bank Stadium. And I think St. Thomas, their men's basketball team, got a chance to play at US Bank Stadium earlier this year when they held that tournament. Tommy Ball, last touch by Kerchek, because I think they did a Division I, which was the Gophers against Oklahoma State, a Division II and a Division III game, and I think St. Thomas was in that one. I don't know if they won or lost that game. And then is it the year after that or the 2 years after that the women's Final Four will be in Minneapolis? That'll be at Target Center. Roland spins out of a double team. Her shot was blocked. Venegas couldn't come up with it. It was stolen away by Renikoff. Venegas went in there a bit timidly to get that basketball. Renikoff pulls it up. Too strong. Roland comes up with a free ball. Somehow there were 4 Wildcats there. Now another loose ball. Fosness is in there. She had it stolen away. Venegas poked it away. Nelson came up with it. Both teams playing hard. You wouldn't know how lopsided it was as Fosness crashed into Renikoff. Both number 10s colliding. Their counterparts wearing the 10 jersey, but it's the third foul against Renikoff. It sends Fosness to the free throw line. Not the kind of bump you normally see in an 18-point game with 35 seconds to go, but good trip to the free throw line for Fosness. She makes her first. And 5 points tonight for Fosness. Wildcats will put on the full court press. They're going to play this thing right on down to the final horn. And Ruth Sin takes the timeout. We'll keep it here. 66-50 the score. Tommy's on top of the Wildcats. Our engineer tonight is Glenn Thompson. I'm Matt Nelson. Thanks to Lindsay downstairs in Athletic Communications for all of her help all season long. Eric Stacy is the athletics director here at St. Kate's. We thank him as well. We'll have Saturday's game for you as the Wildcats host Gustavus, Gusties, and Cats on Saturday. Hope. You said 7 more broadcasts or 6 more? 6 more broadcasts. Can you believe that? That's it. That doesn't sound like a lot. 6 more broadcasts from St. Paul for you. Well, you got this memorized. What was that? 3 Wednesday night games and 3 Saturday games for you Wildcat fans the rest of the season, and potentially playoffs after that. If they last year we carried the game and they were out and playing St. Ben's. Oh no, last year they played Gustavus in the playoffs and lost, but there was an ice storm, so we weren't able to cover the game. But no, if they're in the playoffs, we'll have it on tjsportsonline.net. I'm certain of that. There was horrible weather last year. Otherwise, we were intending to carry that game. But it was like, you know, taking your life in your hands to take on those roads. And we thought better of it. Not all of us can drive one of those huge 4x4 road tackling machines like you drive, Glenn. Some of us just have simple front-wheel drive automobiles. But maybe someday. Down low, rolling. Shot short. And with 3 seconds to go, Wildcats can just bring this thing in and regroup ahead of Saturday. Ball's going to come in. Looks like the Wildcats are going to pull the trigger on one last shot. Kurchek drives. A second to go. Kicks Venegas. This would count, but it's a bit too strong for Venegas. And that's your final. St. Thomas jumped out to an early lead. The Wildcats made it close, but were never able to even that score. So the Tommies led wire to wire, I believe, or did the first basket come on a 2 for St. Kate's? But either way, for about 39 minutes, the Tommies led this game, and in the end, they win 66-50. They sweep the season series from the Wildcats, who now turn their attention to a Saturday home game against Gustavus. The Tommies improved to 13-1 overall, 7-0 in the MIAC. The Wildcats fall to 6-8 overall, 3-4 in MIAC play. Our engineer tonight is Glenn Thompson. I'm Matt Nelson. Thank you for spending a part of your week with us, and we'll talk to you again on Saturday from St. Paul. Until then, go Cats!